Welcome to the most quick, most entertaining podcast. I think I found my first grade history notes. This is the podcast where we will go through random things I just slightly remembered about the things on my first grade history notes. As always, our sponsors are non existent and we still hope to find some, so please, if you'd like to be a sponsor of this amazing podcast, please dial 1-800 Communism now. For today's podcast, we will be talking about the wonderful and sunshine filled Black Death. While, yes, it is one of the most fatal pandemics ever recorded in human history, thank you, ships from the Black Sea. It is very ironic how it started in October, which is the month most known for Halloween. In the 1300s, the spread and knowledge of the disease was very common. Even before this Black Death came to Europe, the Europeans already heard about the Great Pestilence. The Black Death spread very rapidly, and it was very easy to catch it. It was so contagious that even touching clothes could help anyone get it, and someone who would be perfectly healthy one night could be dead the next morning. So not only was it easy to catch, but it could kill quickly and hard to know if someone had it or not. With so many people trading in all around the world, merchants traveling to sell and trade goods, it was easy for this disease to constantly go anywhere around the world, wherever the animal or human or even insect went. The cause of this deadly plague, you may ask? A bacillus called Yersinia pestis. The bacillus wasn't discovered until the end of the 19th century by a French biologist. The bacillus travels from person to person through the air-like bacteria after you cough. It can also be caught through bites of infected fleas and rats, which are known for carrying many more diseases that just killed only a few more million people throughout the past, 10 centuries? But the main reason was that both fleas and rats were very common in ships, which led to most port cities gaining this new disease. Not long after it struck Messina, the Black Death spread to the port of Marseille in France and the port Tanzania in North Africa. Then it reached Rome and Florence, two cities at the center of an elaborate web of trade routes. By the middle of 1348, the Black Death had struck Paris, Bordeaux, Lyon, and London. While this might seem very understandable on how it spread nowadays, in the 1300s there was more chaos and confusion on why this was happening. According to one doctor said, for example, instantaneous death occurs when the aerial spirit escaping from the eyes of the sick man strike the healthy person standing near and looking at the sick. What you may be wondering most is, how do you treat such diseases? In the 1300s, another ironic Halloween thing comes up, and it's how they treated these diseases. Maybe Frankenstein's grandfather was the scientist between these strange and deadly methods of treatment. Physicians relied on crude and unsophisticated techniques such as bloodletting and boil lancing, practices that were dangerous as well as unsanitary, and superstitious practices such as burning aromatic herbs and bathing in rose water or vinegar. Talk about a great smelling death. For healthy people, they tried all they could just to try not to get sick. Doctors refused to see patients, priests refused to administer last rites, and shopkeepers closed their stores. Many people fled to the cities for the countryside, but even they could not escape the disease. It affected cows, sheep, goats, pigs, and chickens as well as people. In fact, so many sheep died that one of the consequences of the Black Death was a European wool shortage, and many people, despite this, to save themselves, even abandoned their sick and dying loved ones. Thus doing, Boccaccio wrote, even though to secure immunity for himself, what did the sheep ever do to the people to be treated so poorly? During this plague, many people didn't know about biology or disease, so they thought it was the god's punishment, since in Europe, religion was a huge factor in most of their lives. The plague never really ended, and it returned with a vengeance years later. The Black Death epidemic had run its course by the early 1350s, but the plague reappeared every few generations for centuries. Modern sanitation and public health practices have greatly mitigated the impact of the disease but have not eliminated it. While antibiotics are available to treat the Black Death, according to the World Health Organization, there are still 1,000 to 3,000 cases of plague every year. Thank you for joining me on I Think I Found My First Grade History Notes podcast. See you next time with the episode about how UFOs built the pyramids.